And so today we're going to focus on navigating reverse logistics. This session will look at how companies can establish efficient reverse logistics systems to reclaim products and enable more circular outcomes. This session is being recorded. It'll be on demand, I think, in about 2 weeks, so you can come back and watch it. Like I said, if you have questions for our speakers, I would love to hear those questions. If you just want to put them in the chat box, and I'll be monitoring them to see if we can get those answered for you. So according to the Reverse Logistics Association, reverse logistics is a term that incorporates everything that has to do with the product once it's in the hands of the customer. So it's left the store, it's left the distribution center, it's in the hands of the customer. And more specifically, most of us think about reverse logistics as the system involved when the product is being delivered either back to the store or to a distribution center to be reused, recycled, or to another end of life system. And so, you know, the most sustainable reverse logistics system is circular and sustainable, and these the more efficient processes that can be established throughout the system to reduce waste, to reduce packaging, to reduce fuel consumption of the vehicles that might be moving these packages around, the more sustainable this will be. So today we're going to be learning about some of these sustainable reverse logistics practices and tools. We've got Ezgi Barcenas. She's the Global VP of Sustainability for Anheuser-Busch InBev. And Crystal just joined us. We've got Crystal Lassiter. She's the Senior Director of Global Sustainability and Environmental Affairs for UPS. So Ezgi, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about what are Anheuser-Busch InBev's strategies around making reverse logistics more sustainable and more efficient?
Yeah, thank you so much, Katie. Great to be here today with this amazing audience. It's great. I can see the chat quite busy. Hi, Crystal. Nice to meet you online. So thanks again for the opportunity to join the dialogue today. I'm looking forward to a great session. As Katie mentioned, I head up the global sustainability team. We are the leading brewer in the world. And we believe that brewing great beer depends on healthy environments and thriving communities. And a huge piece of that, a big component of that, is our circular packaging vision and how we invest in our recycling supply chains. So our 2025 goal on packaging is to have 100% of our products to be in returnable bottles or in packaging that's made from majority recycled content. And you know, we really put ourselves out there and put that responsibility on ourselves to say, you know, how do we recover some of the packaging materials that we put out there if they're not making their way back into our supply chains? And you know, to achieve that, there are a number of things we do. And there is a feedback happening now. I don't know, maybe if you guys want to go on mute. I don't know if it's on Crystal's end or Katie's. I don't know if everyone else is hearing that. That's better. And to achieve that, you know, we continue to protect and promote our returnable volumes. So that's our two-way packaging. Think of the old milkman model. The beer industry, the brewers are still holding on to that, and we're really proud of it. So a big piece of it is to protect and promote that volume, make sure that we're keeping the infrastructure in place and we're making it convenient for the consumers, even though trends change as we offer more modern and convenient solutions. And to also reduce our packaging materials, so lightweight wherever possible. So again, that's about putting less waste out there, to recycle in collaboration with our suppliers, our partners, and startups, and to also rethink about how we innovate and how we raise public awareness of recycling and reuse and some of these reverse logistics opportunities. So in a nutshell, I would say at a high level, that's our strategy, and I'd be happy to talk about some of the lessons learned later on. Yeah.
Crystal, what about from UPS's perspective? How is the company making reverse logistics more sustainable and efficient?
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here. Can you hear me okay, Kate? Excellent. So from UPS's standpoint, a little different than Ezgi, as you know. I mean, we are an important part of the global supply chain, and our customers, they expect us to help them to advance their sustainability efforts. But unlike Anheuser-Busch, we don't actually make a product, right? But we do have to move a lot of products, and we move a lot of products for our customers, and actually to the tune of about 3% of the global GDP every day. So that is what we move. So we understand that we have an important as an enabler of the circular economy and helping our customers to advance their circular strategies. So what I will say is a couple of examples that we have on UPS's side for, reverse logistics, a couple of our partnerships. One is with TerraCycle. TerraCycle is a longtime customer of ours, and they have the Loop project, which many of you may know about. And with the Loop project, we are the proud logistics company for Loop. And the basis around Loop is that it is really around consumer goods or consumer commodities to help them eliminate the reliance on single-use packaging. So when TerraCycle came to us, they came to us around the packaging and how to make a package that was robust enough to deal with the back and forth or the reuse of those shipments. And so we connected with TerraCycle with our packaging lab, our internal packaging lab, to come up with, we understood what their requirements were for their packaging. And as a result, we came up with packaging through a series of testing that works for them. And with that, we are their logistics partner in the US. But the Loop project is also in Paris. And so I will say another example quickly is with Nespresso. And so for many of the coffee drinkers out there, many people have those single cup of coffees, makers in their own home. And with Nespresso, we partnered with them. And that is, one of the issues with the coffee pots is that it has the aluminum plus the coffee grounds. But what we offer with Nespresso in the US is prepaid recycling bags to mail back those used capsules. So those bags can be dropped off at a UPS location, any of the Nespresso boutiques, or some of the participating retailers. And the capsules are then sent to the recycling partners who separate the grounds from the aluminum. So the aluminum is processed and reused, the coffee grounds are composted and later reused as soil. So those are some of the ways that we participate with, with the recycling or the circular strategies for our customers.
Crystal, what has been some of the biggest lessons that UPS has learned throughout trying to make this process more efficient and sustainable?
I think the biggest lesson that we've learned is actually probably around educating the customer. When I think of one of our partnerships that dealt with the schools and the return of electronic equipment and refurbishing of it, initially we were getting back all kinds of things, things that had some restrictions on what you could do with them, regulatory, environmental regulations. So we had to work with the customers to clarify to the end user, what items can be returned, right? So I think setting boundaries and education. And then I also think that scalability is a challenge. And I say scalability because as I've talked about even this, one is around consumer commodities. One partnership that we have is around Nespresso coffees. Another is refurbishing electronic equipment with the schools. So all of those are unique industries or unique sectors for our customers. And I think with each type of value chain, you get its own unique challenges. So I think scalability would also be one of the challenges that we've seen.
What do you think?
With helping out.
Do some of those challenges ring true for InBev as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And great to hear UPS partnering with TerraCycle on the Loop partnership. Working to partner with them in Europe as well, and think that they've got a great model that they're testing. And relatively modern or more developed markets. For us, it's a little bit more different because sustainability sits within our procurement organization that also oversees our vertical operations. So that means, collaborating with our vertical glass plants or can plants on some of these things, and, bringing back that bottle or that can or, scrap or cullet back to our verticals, our own verticals, or even partnering with our third-party suppliers to get this supply back to them. It comes very naturally for us because, we're truly integrated into the business, into our procurement and processes. And, these close partnerships really help us identify the hyper-local challenges. And I think the challenges are around, definitely the consumer awareness, but also lack of recycling infrastructures or incentives. And I saw a question on some of the policies. We fully support enabling policies, the right regulatory backbones wherever it's needed, where we can implement these programs at scale. And, the challenges still remain. And for us, a big piece of it is traceability. And I'd love to give a quick plug here into our 100+ Accelerator program. We've been running for the last 2 years, and we're about to launch the third cohort applications over the next few months. So I recommend you guys look it up. But one example of that is maybe let me talk about Nomo Waste. It's this small startup in Colombia. About 80% of our products sold in Colombia are in returnable bottles. So we continue to protect and promote that returnable volume, as I mentioned, and we do that by kind of filling up some of that empty mileage, right? That true reverse logistics. While we're delivering the beer, we're also picking up some of those bottles from our retailers, and that's fairly easy. The other 20%, remaining 20%, is our cans and one-way bottles. And what we're doing now is we're working with Nomo Waste in partnership with about 300 waste collectors or waste pickers to recover those bottles that get lost in our value chain, because we really think that those bottles are meant for more than one-time use. And it is truly waste for them to end up in a landfill, not even be recycled if the recycling systems are not in place. So, in partnership with Nomo, another startup called BanQ that utilizes blockchain technology, we're actually improving traceability to be able to say, okay, where is this bottle going to, and how can we bring it back home, quote unquote home, but also improving the financial inclusion of those informal supply chains. And what we found out is that, especially in Colombia, they're predominantly female waste collectors as well. So by empowering them, by providing them with the right skills and tools and resources, we can not only recover waste and recover some of that lost value and reduce pollution, but also improve their livelihoods as well.
I have a couple of questions from the audience about the commercial benefits of making the reverse logistics process more efficient and sustainable, and profitability. Is there a way for these systems to be profitable or at least have a commercial benefit to the company?
So I was going to say, I think so. Partner key. And I think when they talk about, efficient and profitability, for us during this pandemic, e-commerce has truly just skyrocketed. And more people have ordered online because you couldn't go for a while. And in some locations, you still can't go to stores. And then where you can, some people just still prefer not to and prefer to order online. So I think that it is affirmed for us that there's definitely a space for us and a place for us to be a part of the solution with reverse logistics, and trying to make sure that it is a sustainable process. And I think that with return logistics and ordering of e-commerce, it just increases the number of items that get returned, right? I mean, it is important for manufacturers and stores or retailers to offer a good return solution for the customer. And so we've seen many of the retailers extend their return process. And as a result of that, one of the companies who we partner with, Optoro, well, we provide Optoro our logistics abilities to be able to move these return goods, but they use their technology platform to work with retailers on their return process to eliminate shipping and reduce the waste that's actually sent to the landfills. as a result of people wanting to return things. So I do think that the pandemic has impacted that. And as we've seen an increase in the returns and the increase to e-commerce and the movement of things via e-commerce.
Ezgi, what do you think on profitability?
Yeah, I was just going to add, for us, it's very clear, right? If you're getting more aluminum scrap or cullet back into the system, the input costs go significantly down at that, upstream, right? So at our vertical plant or third-party supplier. And that's one component of it. I think another huge incentive for us, especially for us, I'd like to think that we're the largest, one of the largest champions of circular economy in the world because of our returnable bottle system. And, returnable bottles, you can use up to 30, 40 times, right? And compared to a one-way bottle, their carbon emissions is, 5 times smaller. So, I think there's so many benefits, not to mention the benefit to the consumer if they're buying a returnable bottle, it's lower cost for them as well, lower price point for them as well. So I think there's huge commercial benefits. It's just a matter of how do you create an actually makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and Crystal talked a little bit about how the pandemic has changed things, at least for UPS, and specifically about like the reverse logistics system. How has the pandemic changed anything for InBev?
It's a great question, and the COVID-19 has touched every one of us. Every business and government out there, and we had to maybe in some cases alter immediate priorities and focus on response and resilience. And yeah, the put recycling supply chains under stress. We've definitely seen that, especially those that rely on the informal communities or that informal collection in many of our markets. For example, in Latin America, we've had many sorting facilities shut down. So although the materials were being collected, it was not possible for them to be sorted and sent back to the recycling facility, for example. So, there were many kind of pain points along the way. And we also saw a big shift from returnable bottle use because those are mainly consumed in bars and restaurants towards single-use packaging. So that's definitely another trend that we've seen. But, we've been working in partnership with our suppliers, our key partners around the world, with governments, with our startup partners, to continue to guarantee safely the availability of our products, but also invest in those long-term solutions as well. So for us, our long-term solution or vision has not changed.
Yeah, and Katie, I'd like to add to what Ezgi said. We saw the same thing with a holding pattern at some point with the returns, right, and not being able to go to the stores when the stores shut down. So we also experienced some of that also during the pandemic. That was a challenge initially for us as well.
And I wanted to field one audience question. The role of product design in the reverse logistics system. Maybe that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're looking into that now, especially in some markets. What we're finding out is that our one-way bottle is not that different than our returnable bottles, right? So then how do you continue to effectively and creatively and safely design use and maybe shift some of that one-way bottle into returnables without inconveniencing the consumer, right? By engaging some of these third-party recycling supply chains or waste pickers to go and collect some of that to bring it back. And that's what we're trying to do. And, we're working very closely. We've got an R&D arm. Our GTech Center is in our Global Innovation Technology Center is based in Belgium. And we're definitely very much looking into this to say, not just how do you lightweight products, but how do you also safely create packaging materials and products that can be used and reused as well. And there's a number of tests and certain specifications that we have to adhere to and meet for us to ensure the safety, of course, of our products.
I don't know if you can hear me, sorry. What are your companies looking for in terms of new technologies or new policies or partnerships? What are what are the key things that can help make reverse logistics at your companies more efficient and sustainable? What I'm sending that one to Crystal.
Yeah, Ezgi mentioned a little bit before about policy. I mean, I think definitely policy could play a part, but I think it's also, as we know, at least no one company can do it by itself. So these types of collaborations, they're critical, I think, to solving what are our shared challenges, right? They're not individual challenges. And even to the prior question about requirements and things that you're moving back and forth. And I think for us, like we mentioned with Loop and being able to play a part in helping test the packaging for something that's going to be able to go back and forth several times. So I think that for us, it is definitely collaborations. And I think it is being able for us to combine our logistics like we do with Arturo, combine our operational and with their technology. I think that is what we look for in terms of partnerships and even technology. I think that we do a great job at UPS of optimizing our delivery network. And so being able to offer that in terms of being sustainable or as a sustainable solution for our partners, then that's what we look for. And Ezgi?
I would say, for us, it's very similar as well. I think ultimately, definitely enabling policies, you need the right environment, the recycling infrastructure in place, but also the consumer behavior, right? And those cultural norms to be established. And if there are no cultural norms, then, how do we continue to incentivize different parties along that value chain, right? And that could be the consumers, it could be our customers, which is the retailer partners, for example, or it could be our suppliers. And, many may believe that there is no demand. The reality is the demand is there. And I think, we're not the only company. There's many food and beverage companies out there that are looking for more recycled content. The challenge is the supply. But ultimately, when you're solving for the supply problem, it's multi-solving, right? You're solving for so many different aspects of it. And I would say transparency or that traceability is really the biggest challenge for us to follow that bottle or that can, once it, post-consumer consumption, and for us to identify that and then bring it back. So that's where we're investing in identifying the right technologies and the partners that can enable us to do that, to close that supply demand gap.
In terms of traceability, there's an audience question about is InBev looking at Internet of Things or other kind of digital technologies like that to improve traceability, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we're definitely looking at that. We're also, as I mentioned, and I think someone had asked about it, we're leveraging a blockchain technology platform, BanQ, which we're also using in our agricultural supply chain. So it's another way for us to improve that traceability of our raw materials and also financially empower our smallholder farmers as well. The more we know where our materials are coming from, the more we can invest in them. And I think there was another question, I'm sorry, I'm actually also following the chats. There was another question about how do you empower the female waste pickers. I think, most importantly right now during the pandemic, we've invested a lot in health and safety trainings and hygiene and ensuring that they have hand sanitizers and soap and water and, the basics, disinfectants and all that, but also training them on what cullet or what bottle or what scrap or can to pick up or not pick up, and, really putting them to test in terms of almost sorting before it gets to a sorting location, right? And ensuring that it's being done in a safe way, and also creating that demand, right? Creating that expectation that, hey, if you go collect this for us, we are a buyer and we will come and buy it from you. So, creating that dynamic and that ecosystem really empowers those waste pickers so that they know that there is that guarantees.
Thank you so much, Ezgi. Unfortunately, we're coming up at the end of our time. We just want to thank all the attendees who have listened into our conversation. Thank you so much for attending and chatting and asking really great questions. We really appreciate your attention and your insights. And I want to thank my speakers, Ezgi and Crystal, for sharing what UPS and InBev have been doing. And I just wanted to welcome the attendees. We're going to a networking session right after this. And then tomorrow, we're also going to be having another session on reverse logistics that UPS is leading. So if you're interested in this subject, please come back tomorrow and tune back in. So thank you so much to all speakers and attendees.